everybody. I thought I would pop on today and do a quick video on this slider pocket card. Really easy and a lot of fun. So we're going to use here's what we're making. So it slides out and that makes a little pocket. I already have most of my supplies already cut. We're going to use the Charming Day stamp set and die set. We're not going to use the dies, but we're using the stamp set. And I'm going to use an extra greeting from Layers of Beauty. You make my heart smile. All of these products are still available in the online store. I just checked. And then we're also going to use this mini embossing folder called Glass and Gardens. And these are just gorgeous. And I'm going to use just the flowered one today. And I'm going to use, I can show you what I used that on. On this one, I used it on my extra little circle. And then here I used it on the greeting. First I used my brush and added a little petal pink and then embossed on top of that. Stamped and then embossed on top of that. And so today we may not do it exactly the same way, but that's okay. Move these out of the way. Okay, and this is the beautiful Floral Charm paper that comes with this suite. Let me just show you. These products are in the online exclusives. They are not in the catalog currently. And to find the online exclusives, you just go to Stampin' Up, ordering, and there's a category for online exclusives. So this is side A, and this is what we're using today, this one. This is side B, which I think is just, this is one of my favorite sheets in this packet. Side A, side B, and you get 2 sheets of each. Usually one is like a very detailed side, and then the other is more of a background type design. And then side A and side B, and I kind of like side B on this one. Side A, side B, side A and side B. I like the B on this one, and I liked this one too, and I made a card with this. The other day we had a mystery stamping event in our team, and I used this for my card, and I'll do a video and show you how I made that. Side B. So let's put this away. I already have everything cut for you. We will need our trimmer. And we're going to make the pink one first, I believe, the petal pink. So first you're going to need half a sheet of cardstock. And I have marked this to make it a little easier for you to see where you're going to cut your slit. So this is 8.5 inches wide, 5.5 inches long, and then we're going to score this at 4 and 8. So that just leaves this little 1/2 inch tab here. And then I have a piece cut in Pretty Peacock, which we're going to make for our second card. We need a 3-inch by 3/4 of an inch. This will be our slider mechanism. So I need one for each one. We'll need a 3/4 by 5 1/4 inch panel to put on the inside. This will slide into our pocket. I've cut 2 sheets of designer paper to use for the front. Use this one on the pink. And then I have, after I cut those 2 strips, 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, I ended up having a 1 1/2 inch strip left over. So I just cut that in half, and that gives me a small strip for the top of my pocket panel. So we'll put one over here. And then the rest is our decor that we're going to put on the front. We're going to use our punches, and we're going, and so you can see where I embossed just some of the little circles. I used the blending brush and just added a little color there, and then stamped on top of that. I didn't have to color, you know, anything in. And then we're going to use this one. This is where I stamped on the white with Pretty Peacock, and then we just embossed the circle. And I think that looks very elegant when you layer that. And then I had an extra. So let's put those little pieces aside, and let's get the card put together. So the first thing we're going to do is stamp. I'm going to stamp first. I'm going to stamp my panel first. So get my card base out of the way and set these up here. Okay, we're going to use Pretty Peacock for our ink. And I'm going to use Layers of Beauty, You Make My Heart Smile, as my stamp. These are photopolymer stamps, so you can see, you know, where you're stamping. You do need to clean these when you get them. And the reason is, in the manufacturing process, they have like a residue on them. And so you need to wipe that off. So I'm going to use my chamois, and I'm going to wash that off just a little. I cut my chamois in half so that I can use them in my classes, and everybody has one at their seat that they can clean their stamps as they go. If you don't clean it off, your ink is just going to bead up, and you're not going to get a good impression. So I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper, and I'm just going to make sure that's dry. I usually always wear black pants because I can just dry it off on my pants. You probably didn't want to know that. Okay, let's see how this stamps. Now, I meant to put this stamp on, you know, straight, and I line it up, but see, that stamps very nicely since we've cleaned it. And I'm going to clean it again, and I'm going to take it off and put it on like I normally do. I don't know why I grabbed it like that. So I'm going to throw it down because the photopolymer stamps, you know, can bend. Like if I wanted this to make an arched, you know, sentiment on my card, I could bend that on my block and stamp it like that. But I want this to be straight. So I'm going to straighten this. Let's see, is this right side up? Nope. Okay, I'm going to straighten this, and I'm going to lay it on one of my lines. It probably would help if I put my glasses on. Hope my head's not in the camera. Okay, so I'm going to line this up on my line so it's straight. then I'm going to line up the top of my block, and you can do this. This is the glass mat, which is available from Stampin' Up, or you can get grid paper that we also use. And I have a sheet here. I don't usually use it if I have my glass mat, but you can see they always have grid lines, measurements, and this was a Christmas pack that they had a while back. But you can use those to line up your block and your stamp. So I'm going to line my block up with the lines so that when I pick this up, it should be pretty straight. And then I'll line up the top of my block with my panel. Now first I'm going to put this little strip of designer paper on. And be very careful when you're putting, you don't want any adhesive sticking out. Get this going. You don't want any adhesive sticking out, but you want it fairly close to the edge, and I'll tell you why. When you slide your panel back into the pocket, you don't want it to catch on the side of your card. So get it as close to the edge, a little bit more here, as you can. But like I said, you don't want it sticking out. Okay, which side is up? I think it's this way. Not that it probably matters. And I'm going to put it on from the side so I can see a little better. And then if you have any, edges sticking over, you can just take your scissors and trim that. Just turn it over to the back side and trim. Give it a haircut. Okay, now we're going to stamp. I didn't realize when I had stamped the other cards, the front greeting didn't really match the inside. And I thought this might fit a little better, a little bit crooked on there. And I even had it, well, I think I've still got it crooked on my block, but we're going to go with it. It's not that off. And then we'll do the same thing when we come to the other card. Okay. Now, this part is finished, and you don't want to stamp too far down. And the reason is, when you pull this up, your decoration here on the front, your panel, your circles are going to block part of that. Depending on, like, if I put this maybe a little farther up, if I had gone up a little farther, from the bottom here, then you've got to watch how far down you go. I did have one that I made, and part of my greeting was blocked because it was a long greeting. Okay, now we are going to work on our card base. And I marked this so you could see where you're going to cut. Let me get my trimmer. I need to put some foam or felt or something on the back of this so that it doesn't make so much noise on the glass mat. Okay, I'm going to put this in at 1.5 inches. Get my stamp out of the way here. 1.5 inches. See if I'm in the camera. 1.5 inches, okay. And I'm going to keep my finger here, and I put, if you're a trimmer, if you can't see the numbers on the side because, it's clear, just take a little strip of your 12 by 12 or, 8.5 by 11 paper and just make a tiny strip. I think this is 1/8 of an inch. And then just glue dot it so that you can see your numbers. And this has been a godsend because now I can just go up here to the 1, which is where I want to start. Then I'm going to put my trimmer blade down so that it goes down into the cardstock. Wait, I forgot. I want to put my designer paper on first. So let me backtrack. I mean, you can do it either way. You just have to cut it twice, but we don't need to do that when we can go ahead and put the tape on. When you put this on, make sure that you are on the outside edge. You don't want to be over here because you don't want any sticky where you didn't intend for it to be. So I'm going to stay close to the edge. And I'm going to center this. This is the front of our card with this tab on the left. So I'm going to center this panel. Haven't done a video for a while and I feel a little rusty today. Okay, there is our designer paper. Okay, now we're going to turn it to the left. And we're going to put this in our trimmer at 1.5 inches. And we're going to put this at 1. Then our drop down our runner here. And I'm going to go up to 4.5. And I'm going to go back down to 1. I'm going to make the 2 passes to make sure that I'm getting through both layers. Okay, done with the trimmer. Okay. That now we're going to add. Well, let me go ahead and cut my little divot out of the top. And this is just to give you a thumb hole. You can use a smaller circle punch if you want. This is the 1 7/8 circle punch. And I'm just going to center between the score line and this score line. And I'm only taking out about and 1/2 inch, maybe 1/4 inch. Okay, so there's my divot. Okay, now we're going to put our mechanism in. I do need some dimensionals, and I use a whole 1 1/2 one. I'm going to take the whole one and I'm going to put it, insert this into the slit, and I'm going to leave out about a 1/2 inch or so, and then I'm going to anchor that so that it won't go slide in by putting a dimensional there. And then I'm going to add another dimensional here. Now this is the support for your circles that we're using. So I added, you know, almost 2 whole ones, but that should do it. Okay, then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to add some tear-in tape. I want a really strong adhesive here because this is what's going to slide your mechanism, your pocket. This is going to let your pocket move. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure that's straight. I don't want it sticking too far out because I don't want it to show over here. And let me erase these pencil marks before I put it together, since I have a little bit that's sticking beyond. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to burnish my card base. And my tab. Going to add some tear and tape right here on the edge of my tab, if I can figure out what I did with it. Here it is. Looks like I'm at the end of this roll, and I need to grab another one. I don't think I've ever gotten to the end of a roll of tear and tape, or I just had several started at one time. These are the little rolls that come in kits. When you order a kit and they send, you know, it's all inclusive. They send everything, and they need, you know, you need tear and tape for it. They send these mini rolls, which I like to use. Oh, that's probably enough on there. I probably don't need to add any more on that. Okay, now I'm going to take, where's my scissors? I can't find my take your pick tool. I don't know what I did with it. Okay, I'm going to take the backing off of my mechanism and straighten it back up. I moved my trash can and can't remember it's on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to try to keep this straight. I want that to be straight. And I'm sticking to it, okay. Now I'm going to take my panel and I'm going to center this. And I want it to be between my score marks. And I think it helps if you have actually folded them up. So, and I want it close to the top, but not over. And then I'm going to lay that on the mechanism. And use a little heat of my fingers to make sure that that is burnished down. Then I'm going to take my scissors, and since I can't find my take your pick tool, I just used it for a card, so I'm not sure. It's probably rolled under something. And then I'm going to fold this over. And we have the start of our slider. Now I'm going to punch this. I'm going to use one of the little slit punches out of the, what are they called? Hole punch assortment. So you have several, an 1/8 of an inch little hole and then a slit, and that slit looks to be a little, well, maybe about the same size as this one. So we're going to use this one today. And I'm just going to try to center that with the cutout, the thumbnail here. Okay. And that's where we'll put our ribbon in a second. Okay, now I've done a little bit of the punching and stuff ahead of time. So let's figure out what we want to put on the front of this one. I think I'm going to use Thanks for Being You. And I might use This is a 2 3/8 and a 2-inch. And then this one is the 1 7/8, which is our newest punch. And I think I will layer those like that. And then either use the pink or the green peacock. I wish there was somebody on who could vote and tell me what you like best. Now I could have used a green and layered like this and put that on, but I don't like that mossy meadow on the peacock. So let's go with the pink base. I usually have my silicone sheet here, and I can use that to get my tape started. The paper is slick, and sometimes it doesn't want to start. Okay, and then we'll put this on some dimensionals, which I didn't do on any of my others, but I wanted to do it on this one. We can get that in the border. Okay, and we're going to take our dimensionals tops off on our mechanism. I keep wanting to put that on the, I'm going to have to move my trash can back around because I keep throwing things on the floor. Okay. Now we're going to go down to our bottom corner. We don't want any of the white showing, so we're going to cover that as best we can. In fact, I probably could take just a little snip off this corner, and I've got my little dingle dangle here. So I don't have to go quite as far down. There, I like that. Okay, now we don't have to add another, layer if we don't want to, but I do think it adds to it. So let's put, I'm going to put the pink or the green, peacock, I think I'll put the peacock. And I'm just going to attach this to the back of this. And I think I'm going to use a piece of tear and tape for that, because it's fairly strong. And I just burnish that with my fingers to give it a little heat for the adhesive. Plus this is sticking up, so it's in with the embossing. Now if I can get the edge of this to pop up. Come on, tape. It's turned off a little chilly at night here. Now I have a little bit sticking out, and I'm just going to roll that over because we're not going to see it. It's going to go right under the edge. I think it was 49 this morning when I went out. Okay, I think I'm going to put that about right there. And then that's just going to slide out. And now let's put our braid in here. we're going to use the Petal Pink braided trim. And you just need a very small piece of this. This is pretty heavy. But we're just going to use about just enough to fold over. It doesn't need to be, you know, 10 inches or anything like you're going to, you know, tie it, because I don't think you could tie this ribbon. Now, if you, you know, tore it apart, like you can take little pieces out of this, you could do it. But we're just going to fold this over. We're going to put it in here, put it in our slit. We're going to fold it over. And then I'm going to use a cheat. I'm going to use my little binder clip here to hold this together. And I'm going to tie some gold thread around it. Or you could use twine or white cotton twine or the brown. But I'm just going to use this little piece of gold. Since this is kind of a feminine card, I thought maybe the gold would, you know, add a little sparkle and shine. I'm just going to pull that, and I'm going to knot this, single knot. Then I'm going to tie it in my bow. And I don't want a very big bow. I want a small bow. And I figured about 10 inches is probably the amount of, you know, if you were going to cut it off. That you would need probably to tie the bow. Okay. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to unbraid this so it's a little frayed. I'm going to trim off the and then we're going to add a few little jewels from this suite. I hate the way the gold thread ties sometimes. Okay, now where are my jewels? We're going to use the Charming Shimmer Faceted Dots. And I think we'll use the pink. I wish they had these in Peacock, but they don't. So we'll add a little over here and a big down here, and we'll put another. This just will slide up, piece of lint there, and down. Okay, and let's put together our peacock one real quick. I mean, you can do 2 of these cards in no time if you have your stuff out. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Let's stamp first. I'm going to use that same stamp. You make my heart smile. Now I could take a blending brush and I could add a little bit of color on here before I stamp this on. Just kind of for a little bit of option. Oh, I probably should have put my... That's about the same way I stamped it the last time, so. Okay, let's put our little strip of designer paper on there. I I'll use the back side on this one, but that makes that look even more crooked. And I think I'm going to stamp that again. And I'm going to stamp it on the other end because nobody's going to see it. Let's see. Yeah, I've got this on here crooked. Let's try this again. Okay, that's straight. And then I like to just pick the Stamp Up off of the, you know, mat or whatever so that I know that I'm not bending or distorting it. I think that's straight. Let's try it again. Okay, if I line this up at the bottom, I don't know if that's any straighter, but I'm going to put this on first, and then maybe that will help guide me. Okay, I'm going to look at the edges. I'm just going to fold that over if any tape was at the edge. And then because I cut this intending to use this side, I've got like a little ridge there, and I'm just going to take, after I get this put on, I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to smooth that down. Hope you cannot hear my stomach growling. Okay, now I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to smooth down the edge where that you get on the back side, and I've got a little bit of adhesive there, but okay. Okay, now let's try this for the last time. Line this up. Much better. Okay, let's put this away for now and set this aside. Okay, now we're going to take our card base and we're going to put our front designer paper on it. I really do like this tone on tone. I think it's really pretty. A lot of times I use glue because you can move it around before it sets, but I don't want any adhesive sticking out where it's not supposed to. Can't hardly see this. I'm going to fold this down. Okay, now we're going to grab our trimmer again. We're going to put this in at 1.5 inches with our tab on the left. So 1.5 inches here. I'm going to put this in, since my blade is up here, I'm going to put 4.5, and I'm going to push it down so that it's in the paper. And then I'm going to go down to 1 and back up to 4.5. And I will tell you, it is a good idea to start your blade down here and go this way. And that way it pushes your cardstock or your paper up against the edge where this butts up against that. See, I can't go anywhere. It can't go any farther because that's butted up against there. So if you're pushing with your blade and you're going this way, it can't go anywhere. It's going to stay there. I have had it sometimes if you started up here and you went to go down and had the paper slide. So starting down here and going towards the butted edge probably is a great tip. Okay, here's our mechanism. We're going to stick it in. I only want it sticking out about that much. I'm going to add my dimensional on here to anchor it. I don't want it sticking over because I don't want it sticking to anything. And then I'll just cut a strip off the bottom here. We use the whole thing of the dimensional, all of it. All around the edges, see these straight edges? We cut all that and use all of that. You don't throw any of your dimensional away. Okay, we're gonna punch this while I have it handy. Okay, center between your score lines. Want about the same amount on each side. You just want a little, you know, you really don't even need to do that probably because you have your ribbon that's going to pull out anyway, but I think it's just kind of cool to see the edge of your designer paper up there. Okay, now we're going to turn this over, straighten that. And we're going to add our tear and tape. What did I do with that? I mean, you could use glue, but you would have to be really careful. Excuse me. Not to get, you know, anything that seeps over. And then I will go ahead and put the tear and tape on this strip while I have it. And I want it close, kind of close to my score mark so that it's, you know, to the edge of my card and it's not gapped. Okay, now let's flip this back over. Center that. Straighten that. Okay, take my backing off. I guess take the backing off and then straighten it. Okay, straighten this. Okay, now I'm going to take my stamped panel and I'm going to center it between, I want it up here, close to the edge, and centered between my score lines. Okay, I'm going to burnish that with my fingers. And now we're going to burnish our edges. It's just easier kind of if you burnish that before you put your dimensional on, but it needs to be on there so that it okay, let's take our tape off. Maybe. Okay. Now we have our mechanism here. And like I said, we want our card panel down. And now we're going to take our pieces off and decide what we want to put on here. So we did pink on this one. So we could do the peacock on this one with a pink layer. I think that's cut too small. So let's see, I need I think maybe that's 2-inch. Let's see, I need a 2-inch. Is that 2-inch? Yeah, that's 2-inch. Okay, I need a 1 7/8, say 1 7/8 inch. Say that 3 times fast. But I need to stamp it first, so let's set this aside. And I think I want to put, thank you for being you. And then I think it goes great with that other sentiment that we used. So we will use our peacock. And I do have a project sheet that I have made for this, and I just got ink everywhere. Clean this, hold on. My peacock ink is very juicy. See if I can stamp this without getting ink everywhere. Okay. And then I'm going to use, let's close this so I don't have ink everywhere. I'm just going to center that in here. Now I could stick this in the embossing panel before I glued it on, but I would have to stamp it first. And then we're just going to layer this on top. My 1 7/8, it's the newer one, has been giving me a little bit of like little edges here. I need to probably stick it in, cut some foil with it. Okay, let's tape these on. Well, it does not want to start. Let's go. Which has me getting tape all over my glass mat. The glass mat cleans very well when you get adhesive on it, just by using one of those little alcohol pads. Okay, now I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. A little stuck to my nail. What is happening? That's too... Excuse me. I've had this tickle in my throat going on probably 3 weeks now. That was weird. Those stuck together and I couldn't get them apart. Now, if I wasn't, mailing something, I have used double stacked dimensionals before. Okay. Now we're just going to stick that right here. And I am going to trim that corner again like I did a while ago. That way I don't have to go quite as far, down and over to cover that. And I think instead of, I want the green. I think I'm going to use the pink. Okay, and then let's punch with our little punch. if I can center that. Well, I did have some white ribbon that I laid out. I don't know if it's current. Ooh, maybe I could use this. This is the new cloud. Let's see, what is it called? I think it's called Cloud Cover, the new ink that they were having so many issues with. And I wish I knew where my stapler was. I would just staple this right here. I think I'm going to use this, and I'm going to tie it again with my gold. I just happened to have that piece of ribbon laying there left over from another card, and I had accidentally cut too much. Okay, now let's tie our little bow. Maybe let's tie our little bow. Okay, let's trim this. I like that. Okay, now let's add some more jewels. We'll add, and then maybe we'll add one. I can get a hold of it in the center of this rose. Okay, 2 cards. Quick, classy, fun. Here's our pink one. And here's our peacock one. And I do like that, using the back side of that paper for this one. So a little different than our originals. Let me move this stuff out of the way, and we'll put our 2 original cards up here. There's the pink, petal pink, and here's the petal pink. Here's the pretty peacock, and here is the original pretty peacock. So, which do you like best? The original, or the new ones that we just made in the video? So the video version or the original version? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your comments, and if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. And I hope to have a project sheet posted soon. And please visit my YouTube channel at Frankly Stamping and my blog at franklystamping.com. Thank you very much. Goodbye.